Hare Krishna! In this video I am going to tell the fifth story from Kṛṣṇa book, Meeting of Nanda and Vasudeva. Let's start the story. Although Krishna was the real son of Vasudeva and Devaki, because of Kamsa's atrocious activities, Vasudeva could not enjoy the birth ceremony of his son. But Nanda Maharaj, the foster father, celebrated the birth ceremony of Krishna very joyfully. The next day, it was declared that a male child was born of Yashoda. According to the Vedic custom, Nanda Maharaj called for learned astrologers and Brahmanas to perform the birth ceremony. Nanda Maharaj and other members of the family dressed and sat down in front of the birthplace. All the Brahmanas who were assembled there on this occasion chanted auspicious mantras according to the rituals, while the astrologers performed the birth ceremony. Nanda Maharaj distributed 2 lakh well-decorated, dressed and ornamented cows to the Brahmanas. He not only gave cows in charity, but hills of grains decorated with golden bordered garments and many ornaments. A newborn child is purified by giving grains in charity to Brahmanas. In that ceremony, all the Brahmanas assembled began to chant different kinds of Vedic mantras to invoke all good fortune for the child. There were different kinds of chanting, and along with this chanting of mantras and songs, bugles and kettle drums sounded outside the house. On this occasion, the joyous vibrations could be heard in all the pasturing grounds and all the houses. When all the cowherdmen heard that Nanda Maharaj, father of Krishna, was celebrating the birth ceremony of his son, they became spontaneously joyful. They all dressed themselves in a gorgeous way, and they took various kinds of presentations and thus approached the house of Nanda Maharaj. As soon as they heard that Mother Yashoda had given birth to a child, all the cowherd women became overwhelmed with joy, and they all dressed themselves with various kinds of costly garments and ornaments and smeared scented cosmetics on their bodies and approached the house of Nanda and Yashoda. All the beautiful gopis took their different presentations and very soon reached the house of Nanda Maharaj. All of them reached the house of Nanda and Yashoda and blessed the child. "Dear child, you live long just to protect us." All the cowherd men and cowherd women became very joyful, and in response they all began to throw yogurt, milk, clarified butter and water upon each other. Nanda Maharaj was also very happy to see the pastimes of cowherd men and women, and he became very liberal in giving charity to the different singers who were assembled there. Some singers were reciting great verses from the Upanishads and Puranas. Some were glorifying the family ancestors, and some were singing very sweet songs. There were also many learned Brahmanas present, and Nanda Maharaj, being very satisfied on this occasion, began to give them different kinds of garments, ornaments and cows in charity. Thus Nanda Maharaj, the foster father of Lord Krishna, began to satisfy the desires of all the men assembled there. While Nanda Maharaj was worshipping Lord Vishnu on this occasion and was trying to satisfy all the people there, his only desire was that the newborn child Krishna would be happy. Nanda Maharaja had no knowledge that this child was the origin of Vishnu, but he was praying to Lord Vishnu to protect him. In this way, they celebrated the birth of Lord Krishna. After the birth ceremony, Nanda Maharaj decided to go to Mathura to pay the annual tax to the government of Kamsa. When Nanda Maharaj arrived in Mathura, Vasudeva got the news and was very eager to congratulate his friend. He immediately went to the place where Nanda Maharaj was staying. When Vasudeva saw Nanda, he felt that he had regained his life. Nanda, overwhelmed with joy, immediately stood up and embraced Vasudeva. At that time, Vasudeva was anxious about his 2 sons who had been put under the protection of Nanda Maharaj without Nanda's knowledge. With great anxiety, Vasudeva inquired about them. Both Balarama and Krishna were the sons of Vasudeva. Balarama was transferred to the womb of Rohini, Vasudeva's own wife, but Rohini was kept under the protection of Nanda Maharaj. Krishna was personally delivered to Yashoda and exchanged with her daughter. Nanda Maharaj knew that Balarama was the son of Vasudeva, although he did not know that Krishna was also Vasudeva's son. But Vasudeva was aware of this fact and inquired very eagerly about Krishna and Balarama. Vasudeva then addressed him, "My dear brother, by the grace of the Lord you are fortunate to have a very nice son. I think that this incident is very auspicious for you. Dear friend, I was imprisoned by Kṛṣṇa and now I am released. Therefore this is another birth for me." Vasudeva was feeling his separation with Krishna, but he could not express the real fact. Vasudeva continued, "My dear friend, please tell me about the welfare of Vrindavana," he said. "Please also let me know whether the place where you are now living is undisturbed and peaceful." This inquiry was made by Vasudeva because he was very anxious about Krishna's safety. He knew that Kṛṣṇa and his followers were trying to kill Krishna by sending various kinds of demons. They had already resolved that children born within 10 days of the birthday of Krishna should be killed. Because Vasudeva was so anxious about Krishna, he inquired about the safety of his residence. He also inquired about Balarama and his mother Rohini, who were entrusted to the care of Nanda Maharaj. Vasudeva also reminded Nanda Maharaj that Balarama did not know his real father. He knows you as his father. And now you have another child, Krishna, and I think you are taking very nice care of both of them. And then Vasudeva expressed his sorrow due to not being able to give protection to his own sons born of Devaki. On hearing this, Nanda Maharaj replied, "My dear Vasudeva, I know that you are very much aggrieved because the cruel king Kṛṣṇa has killed all your sons born of Devaki. Although the last child was a daughter, Kṛṣṇa could not kill her, and she has entered into the celestial planets. My dear friend, do not be aggrieved. We are all being controlled by our past unseen activities. Everyone is subjected to his past deeds, and one who is conversant with the philosophy of karma and its reactions is a man in knowledge. Such a person will not be aggrieved at any incident, happy or miserable." Vasudeva then replied, "My dear Nanda, if you have already paid the government taxes, then return soon to your place, because I think that there may be some disturbances in Gokula." After the friendly conversation between Nanda Maharaj and Vasudeva, Vasudeva returned to his home. The cowherd man headed by Nanda Maharaja, who had come to Mathura to pay their taxes, also returned. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 5th chapter of Kṛṣṇa, Meeting of Nanda and Vasudeva. Thank you. Hare Krishna.